Hello, everybody. This is Hunter Davies from Frenetic Pace Sports, and today we are out at Ford Field. It is a gorgeous day to be out in front of Ford Field as the Lions season is close to kicking off. They are 2 games now into the preseason, and there is a lot riding on this team heading into the new football year. For starters, there is a whole new offensive line almost in Detroit. Last year, it was a big issue for the Lions. Jared Goff was sacked 38 times. That was up 7 from the 31 the previous year and 30 the year before that. And statistically, Jared Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when facing pressure and when there's a clean pocket. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The retirement of Frank Ragnow last year, all of a sudden in the preseason, did not help that case, and the Lions went all out this offseason to address that offensive line issue. They signed Cade Mays, they drafted Blake Miller, they signed Larry Borum to be a swing tackle, Penei Sewell's going to move to left tackle, Tate Ratledge is going into year 2, and Christian Mahogany and Miles Frazier are 2 guys who are going to get chances at the left guard position. The offensive line is crucial to this season in Detroit, keeping Jared Goff upright and the offense flowing. It helps run block for Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Cade Mays did go down in training camp. He is set to miss the first few weeks of the season. Juice Scruggs, who they acquired from Houston in the David Montgomery trade, is set to start right now. It's a competition between him and Seth McLaughlin for who gets that center position. In preseason game 2, the offensive line looked a little shaky to start the game, and almost everybody was out there. Penei Sewell was not suited up for the game. He was not playing. He doesn't really need to. He is the best tackle in the league, or one of the best tackles in the league. Maybe you want him out there for a drive or two to get settled in with the new offensive line. But Josh Dobbs was strip sacked on the first drive of the game and recovered for a touchdown by the Washington defense in a play in which the blocking was not very good. Almost everyone on Washington's defense was able to get through Ratledge, Miller, Scruggs, everybody on the offensive line. So the way they mesh early in the season is going to be key to Detroit's offensive success this year. Cade Mays, whenever he comes back healthy, will be a huge gain to this Lions offense. The first few games that he will miss, he's going to miss teams such as the Jets, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Panthers, and the Buffalo Bills if he misses those first 5 weeks. He could miss more, but if it's those first 5 as expected, those are the first 5 opponents, and the team should be able to go 4-1 without him. If they don't, that is a big, big issue that needs to be addressed among the team. But the offensive line is one of the biggest issues going into the season. I've said it throughout all my articles, mostly previewing the Lions. And another issue that they're going to have to figure out this season is how is new offensive coordinator Drew Petzing going to look with these weapons. Now, John Morton did not work out last year. He did not work out. Now, Petzing wasn't the flashiest hire of the offseason, especially when Mike McDaniel and Brian Dable were available. 2 guys who you expected Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes to severely push for to try to get that offensive coordinator position. But they ended up going with Petzing. We have to think why they did that. And I genuinely think that that is a good decision for this team going into this year. I don't think he was the problem in Arizona. When Jacoby Brissett was playing quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, that offense was performing extremely well. They were performing about averagely. They didn't have a great running back room to run the ball after James Conner got hurt. That is something Drew Petzing doesn't have to worry about in Detroit. He's got one of the top 2 running backs in the league in Jahmyr Gibbs, and he'll have Isaiah Pacheco to use once he's back as a secondary option, a bruiser in those short yardage situations. So not only should he have a better rushing attack to work with, he should also have much better weapons, minus the fact that Trey McBride is the best tight end in the league in Arizona. Sam Laporta is a great option as well. Granted, he did just get hurt again. His status for the season opener is up in the air. However, Sam Laporta is going to love working with Drew Petzing the way he utilizes tight ends in Arizona. And Petzing is going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown, the speedster who can take it off the top of the defense in Jameson Williams, and a supposedly good hands guy in Isaac Tesla. He's had some problems with drops in training camp and in preseason game 1, but He has also had very good hands last year, and whether that's a minor concern or a major concern going into the season, there's still lots of weapons for Petzing to utilize. And Jared Goff and Jacoby Brissett are similar pocket passer type quarterbacks. Stand in the pocket, got a big arm down the field, throw the ball, and utilize those weapons. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not Amon-Ra St. Brown. Michael Wilson is not Jameson Williams. Sam Laporta isn't Trey McBride, granted, but the weapons room that Petzing will have to work with and utilize his schemes and the offensive line, the quarterback play, everything is an upgrade for him in Detroit over Arizona. So I think his scheme should transition well for this season. And other than at Buffalo week 2, they have a bit of a soft schedule to kind of load in that offense and get used to people playing in that system and working with Petzing as the OC. Another thing going into this year, big thing to watch, is the defensive injuries and the play of the defense overall as a whole. That has been one of the killer things for the Lions. The 2 years they went to the playoffs, last year the defense wasn't great as well, but the offensive line was the bigger overarching issue, along with offensive coordinator John Morton's play calling. The 2 years before that, defense killed them in that 24-7 loss in the NFC Championship game when they blew that lead to the Niners. And when they went 15-2 and got the 1 seed, all of their defenders were hurt, including Aiden Hutchinson, and that showed in the divisional round against the Commanders. And so they are looking for an edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. They look to have found that in Derek Moore and Ahmed Hassanin, who both have looked great in training camp and in preseason. Yesterday in game 2, Derek Moore had his first career sack. He had a strip sack in the preseason on Sam Hartman. Just bursted off the edge with ammunition, firepower, and the motor to get it done. It is something you love to see as a Lions fan going into the season. It is something that you want to see happen outside of Aiden Hutchinson this year, because when you don't get that pressure outside of him, there's nothing else. It is him. He is double teamed, and he can be taken out of the equation. The quarterback has all day to throw. The Lions are hoping they found that answer in Derek Moore. Ahmed Hassanin has also showed out really nicely. If those two can become a rotational duo outside of Hutchinson, saving some reps, that could be really good for the team this season. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are both going to miss the beginning of the regular season. It could be the first 4 games if they are not activated by the end of training camp. There haven't been too many updates on their physicals, so we don't know much about that as of now. And the Lions are trying to work through a revolving door of a cornerback room right now. Obviously, the Terrion Arnold stuff in the offseason, his whole situation, how it was released, and he will be getting signed by the Seahawks. He'll be put on the commissioner's exempt list, but obviously it wasn't going to work out with him in Detroit. So other than DJ Reed, they have been looking to find that guy. Rock Ya-Sin is expected to be the starter at this point in time outside. Keith Abney has played really well in the slot in training camp. He seems to be getting a lot of push for first team there. Roger McCreary in early practices and OTAs was getting a lot of compliments. Ennis Rakestraw, would love to see him succeed after being a second-round pick in that Terrion Arnold draft. Just the size and the injuries, he's never been able to stay on the field. I've heard some bad things out of camp, also heard some amazing things out of camp. But the injuries just keep coming for Rakestraw, and it's sad to see for a guy like him who has his opportunity this year to get in front of that cornerback's room. You just hate to see it for the young man, but that is something the Lions will have to figure out this year. But if the pass rush can be any better with Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Moore, Ahmed Hassanin, Ali McNeil, and even Skylar Gill-Howard, the rookie out of Texas Tech, he looked really good in week 2 yesterday. He is playing like he could earn one of those first team spots. It's going to be a tough season for the Lions. They have the 4th place schedule after finishing last in the division at 9-8 still, which 9-8 usually doesn't get you in last place in your division. The NFC North is a very tough division. You can expect regression out of the Bears. They led the league in turnover differential last year. They lost both of their starting safeties from last year. the safety they signed to replace one of them is injured. He's going to miss a lot of this season, and so you can expect some defensive regression out of there. They will need Caleb Williams to play a lot better this year to keep it up. The Vikings, they replaced J.J. McCarthy with Kyler Murray. They're expecting some offensive growth from there. And of course, the Packers, once they get Micah Parsons back from injury, they will always be a good roster and consistently around in the North. So the North is still a tough division. It's an easy first 5 weeks, other than at Buffalo, which will be very tough on Thursday Night Football, a short turnaround. But if the Lions can get off to a hot start without Mays, Branch, or Joseph, get those guys back in the season, get the offensive line and the offensive coordinator gelling, this could be a 12-win, a 13-win team headed into the postseason and winning the NFC North. It's a lot on the line for Detroit this year after disappointing last year. They have a lot of questions to answer, and so far through the training camp and preseason, we've seen a lot of footage. There's been a lot of injuries. Jimmy Rolder, got good news on him recently. He's expected to be back sooner than later. He could even make it back by the beginning of the regular season. That was the most recent update on Rolder, as they really want him to be in that linebacker position. And even Devin White, who they signed on a whim because Malcolm Rodriguez got hurt, has been playing really well in training camp and in the preseason. He's expected to take the role that was supposed to be Malcolm Rodriguez's. So they've got a lot of issues to figure out this year, but they've had a lot of promising signs early on so far. And Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Jared Goff, and the Detroit Lions have a lot in front of them in the NFC North in the 2026 season. Again, this is Hunter Davies for Frenetic Sports reporting in front of Ford Field. Thank you.